Hi, my name is Eliana Sofia Madrideo.
Hi, I'm Nathaniel Fabonan,
Hi, I'm Alia Aliana, and welcome to The Cons!
and welcome to the Cons.
And welcome to The Cons.
Yes, I've watched those videos.
Yes, I've actually watched those videos.
Yes, I have watched those videos.
Yes, I do think pandemic is a human act. It starts from us being irresponsible as a person. Pandemics are said to come from spillage of viruses that originated from animals. This viruses transferred to us, but in order for it to be called a pandemic, it should first come in contact with multiple people and eventually affect its neighboring countries. Us being irresponsible in our hygiene during and after coming in contact with different animals can eventually put millions in danger. Pandemics are not included in the law of God. It is simply us being careless and ignorant of the other viruses that could harm us. It is not something that God wants us to experience, rather, it's a sign. God wants us to look into our surrounding much more, for us to be more aware of what could harm us.
Most pandemics to happen, a pathogen, which is a microbe that can cause disease, has to spill over from its normal host by making contact with and infecting a human. Then, the pathogen has to spread widely, crossing international boundaries and infecting lots of people. Many variables determine whether a given spillover event becomes a pandemic. For example, the type of pathogen, how often humans come into close contact with its animal reservoir, existing immunity, and so on. Viruses are prime candidates to cause the next big pandemic. Scientists estimate that there are about 1.7 million as yet undiscovered viruses that currently infect mammals and birds, and that roughly 40% of these have the potential to spill over and infect humans. We now have tools that make pandemics less destructive. Scientists estimated that early warning systems, contact tracing, social distancing, and other public health measures saved over 1 million lives in just the first 6 months of the COVID-19 pandemic in the US, not to mention the millions of lives saved by vaccines. One day, another pandemic will sweep the globe, but we can work to make that day less likely to be tomorrow. We can reduce the risk of spillover events, and we can contain spillovers that do happen so they don't become full-blown pandemics. Imagine how the future might look if we interacted with the animal world more carefully, and if we had well-funded, open-access global disease monitoring programs, AI-powered contact tracing and isolation measures, universal vaccines, next-generation antiviral drugs, and other tech we haven't even thought of. It's in our power to change these probabilities. So we have a choice. We could do nothing and hope we get lucky, or we could take the threat seriously enough that it becomes a self-defeating prophecy.
I think the importance of understanding the fundamentals and reaching the main goal through gradual progression or achieving objectives one at a time in preventing future pandemics cannot be understated. Having a firm grasp on the basics and being able to see the big picture will allow individuals to better plan and prepare for future pandemics. Additionally, being able to focus on and achieve objectives one at a time will prevent overwhelm and ensure that progress is being made towards the ultimate goal.
The effects of COVID-19 are the most significant challenges that the people of the Philippines face. Opportunities are said or stated by Bill Gates. He said that in order to keep the pandemic from spreading even further around the world, we should invest in a health system that is ready to stop outbreaks so that we do not have to live in fear of COVID-19. He also stated that the diagnostics, therapeutics, and vaccines will provide us with far better tools much faster than we did this time. Consequently, it will be possible to put an end into the disastrous pandemics. We can use this opportunity to put our best ideas forward to permanently end pandemic.
There's really no easy way to answer this question. It actually depends on how one person defines freedom and responsibility. For some people, freedom might mean being able to do whatever they want without having to worry about the consequences. In this case, it might not be possible to enjoy freedom without a sense of responsibility. And other people might define freedom as being able to live their life the way that is true to themselves, regardless of what others might say or think. In this case, it might be possible to enjoy freedom without a sense of responsibility. Ultimately, it is up to each individual to decide what freedom means to them and whether or not they believe it is possible to enjoy freedom without the sense of responsibility.
The impact of the current pandemic on businesses and firms is enormous. Our country's economic growth has slowed because the GDP growth rate in the Philippines fell from 8.2% in the first quarter of the pandemic to 7.4% in the second quarter due to an increase in commodity prices caused by the lockdown. The manufacturing, services, and the household spending are struggling to keep up with the current pandemic as a result of the high inflation rate or the sharp rises in the cost of goods, as is evident. The government's proposed solution to rising prices is to import more supplies. As of June 2022, the trade deficit, or the difference between imports and exports, had reached $5.8 billion, the highest on record. The Philippine Central Bank raised interest rates, which will help reduce the debt levels of our country's businesses and consumers as their consumption of goods decreases and the price of goods also decreases. However, Dr. Robert believes that it is essential to track the movement of interest rates because Filipinos may not open businesses if the loans are too high. In this pandemic, technology allows businesses to support external customer service efforts as well as assist consumers and owners of businesses and firms because they no longer have to put their health at risk while making money. They may use technology to avoid close contact with customers and still sell products.
Based on the recent economic status on the Philippines, I think it is more preferable to conduct a manufacturing type of business to help grow our country's GDP. If the government chooses to help our local manufacturers grow their product revenue by twofold, it will help us elevate from our current GDP growth rate. It is important that we value our own products to further enhance the quality of our locally made products for them to be recognized across the globe. I think the income sheet approach is the most appropriate type of inventory system that should be utilized when using manufacturing type of business. It is the type of inventory system that is owners friendly. In this type of inventory system, the owner would be more informed of what their current status and of their own business and could possibly help in the allocation of expenses in the business.
Infinite limits are related to our current economic situation. The R in infinite limits represents human actions and the infinity represents our environment. Our actions, like the R in infinite limit, have the ability to influence what happens to our surroundings. If r is even, the infinity becomes positive, while if r is odd, the infinity becomes negative. People's actions will be the ones that cause changes in the environment, whether they are positive or negative. Bill Gates proposed a well-laid out solution how to prevent another pandemic. He states that future pandemic can be prevented if we constantly improve health systems across the globe. If we build a global pathogen that can serve as a guide to know whenever and wherever there could be an outbreak, and the innovation of diagnostics, therapeutics, and vaccines that can equip us with necessary tools in preventing a world-scale outbreak far better than our response with COVID. He also said that one way to prevent COVID is to be prepared, and preparing for a possible outcome can make pandemics a thing of the past.
There are a number of sociological, gender, political, or ideological influences that may impact our project's target audience in preventing future pandemics. For example, some people may feel that they are more at risk of contracting a disease if they are in close proximity to others, so they may be more likely to take precautions such as wearing a mask or staying home if they are sick. Others may feel that pandemics are something that happen to other people and are not a real threat to them, so they may be less likely to take precautions. Still, others may feel that the government is not doing enough to prevent pandemics, so they may take matters into their own hands and try to stockpile supplies or build their own home quarantine facilities. Whatever the beliefs and attitudes of our target audience, they will likely to have some impact on how willing they are to take steps to prevent future pandemics. There are a number of factors that can contribute to the overall quality of preventing future pandemics. Some of these include the specific context in which people live and work, their biases and beliefs, and the resources available to them. For example, people who live in poverty or in conflict-affected areas may have limited access to information about how to prevent and manage infectious diseases. They may have also limited resources to invest in prevention and treatment measures. In addition, people who hold negative attitudes towards certain groups of people may be less likely to support measures that would help prevent the spread of disease. All of these factors can contribute to the overall quality of preventing future pandemics. By increasing awareness of these factors and working to address them, we can improve our chances of preventing future outbreaks.
Once again, I'm Alia Aliana.
And I'm Aliana Sofia Madrideo.
Once again, I'm Nathaniel Fabonan. See you next time in the cons.
See you next time in the
And
cons.
see you next time in the cons.